fellow bookworms to Tipper's Den. My name is Whitney, and today I have an ABC Author Challenge update for you guys. We're going to be talking about my second N author, and then we're going to be talking about my O author, and I hit a snag on my own author. I ended up DNFing the book, but we'll talk more about that when we get to that point. As always, before we get into it, if you could remember to give this video a like, it really does help out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing. But I guess let's go ahead and start with my N author. So this is my second N author because it's part of my rules for my ABC challenge, specifically the author challenge. I go by the author's last name, and there's a thrifting element, and so I am finding these books at thrift stores, just to get some new inspiration, try books that I might never try otherwise. And I couldn't find a last name with the letter N, so I ended up going with the first name, and so I read two books. So last month we read Natasha Preston, The Cellar, and then this one is Buried Lies by Nancy Starr. So this is a very, very short book. It ended up taking me all weekend to read it. I didn't read anything on Friday. I ended up having to do some errands, and then me and my husband had like an impromptu date night. So I didn't read anything on Friday. I thought, no problem, it's nice and short. I'll just knock out these books over the weekend. Well, that didn't happen. I was sick because I had cheese when I should know better by now. And so I was sick, and then one of the dogs has been sick. Boo Boo, she kind of has these bouts where she gets sick. So she's been sick. So it was just kind of a rough weekend, just tired. And it took me all weekend to read this for sure. So, not because there was anything wrong with the book. I mean, I only gave it 3 stars, but it was still a solid read regardless of that. It's just I wasn't feeling well, and really super tired and dealing with the dog and everything. So it was more on me, not so much the book. I was definitely very intrigued by this book. Basically, it's kind of like a psychological thriller, and it had me like so confused. But you have Joy, and when she was 13, her twin brother Buddy got kidnapped. Well, she doesn't have any memories of that time or her childhood. Like, she's kind of blocked everything out. And so now she's pregnant and married to Buddy's best friend, and she's starting to have like flashbacks and such. And basically, the whole like this book, like everybody around her, her doctors are kind of gaslighting her, her husband, her mom, her neighbors, like everybody's making this poor woman feel like she's crazy. Um, and there's something kind of more nefarious going on that ties back to what happened to her brother Buddy. And so she's having to, not only piece together all these memories, but then deal with what's going on in present day and try to discern whether she's just crazy or whether somebody is messing with her. But like the cops like would come and they were kept gaslighting her and everything like that. So very, very good. Like it kept me, I mean, the writing's pretty simple, but the intrigue was very, very strong with this book. So I was like, I wanted to know, like, is she like an unreliable narrator or like what's going on here? So it definitely kept me engaged the whole book. Some of the logic wasn't quite right. And I think that's more just because it is so short and so it wasn't as developed. And so some of the things weren't very well explained. So some of the logic wasn't very good. It was written in 1993, and it does have kind of like this dated feel to it. I can't remember. I think it takes place like around that time or even a little bit earlier. But like I said, what really made me mad was like how the doctors were interacting with her and how the police interacted with her, and then her neighbors too. Like those women, like, no. And so yeah, overall a very solid, like, just short psychological thriller. So if you like psychological thrillers and you're looking for something that's short and easy to read, this one might be one you would enjoy. So overall I enjoyed it. I wish I hadn't been sick and my dog hadn't been sick, because then I might have enjoyed it a little bit more and gotten through it a little bit faster, but still a solid read. And like I said, it wasn't like an amazing book. There were some faults for the logic. The writing wasn't perfect, but it was a solid read and it was enjoyable. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not always looking for those 4 stars or those 5 stars. Sometimes I just want a short, simple read. It doesn't have to be amazing. So this is one I can see myself picking up again, even though now I know what happened. I can see myself reading it again and, picking up on things that I missed, especially now that I know what's going on. So, very, very solid. Did enjoy this. And so that was my second N author. Then we got to my O author, which was George Orwell, and this was 1984. I've read Animal Farm, I had to read it in school, and I do remember pretty much enjoying that one. Um, Sorry, sicko dog is in here. I want to make sure she's not gonna get sick. So, anyway, so I do remember pretty much enjoying Animal Farm. Like, it was definitely weird. And when I read Animal Farm, that teacher would we read Animal Farm and Of a Mice and Men, and she would let us watch the video too. So we would read like a set of chapters and then we would watch the corresponding portion of the video in class and kind of discuss it that way. And so I do remember enjoying Animal Farm, but I think it's because, the dual dynamic. And there wasn't the writing wasn't so bad in this one. It's just the topic and kind of the plot was a bit draggy. Um and so yeah, I didn't enjoy this. Basically, you have I think his name's Winston or something like that. I don't really remember. But he's in 1984 and it's kind of like a futuristic, not really dystopian, but like uh what's the word I'm looking for? Like, kind of a perfect society, only it's not so perfect kind of type of feel. And I got about 50 pages in, I want to say, and I had to force myself to get through those 50 pages. Like, it was really, really hard for me to get through those, and I just decided, you know what, this is not a book I'm going to enjoy. I don't really like those futuristic utopian type books anyway. And I wasn't enjoying it, and like I said, there didn't feel like there was a plot. Um, Really, it was just about him and, those double think and thought police and Big Brother and such. Like, it was just not my cup of tea. And I thought, I really don't want to force myself to read this. And part of it, I still wasn't feeling very good and still dealing with the dog. And so that might have been part of it. So I might try this at a later date, but it just wasn't for me. And my rules, if I don't read a book, then I end up failing the challenge. So I was like, how can I not read this book because I don't want to, but still succeed at the challenge? So I thought I'll just read another author. And so I was trying to think, what authors I had, if I had any authors, and especially if I had any authors that I had thrifted their books. And I really couldn't think of any. And then I remembered my Dear America series, which I've been collecting for my Throwback Thursday. One of the authors is named Mary Pope Osborne, so you can see there. And so I thought I'll just read one of those. But it didn't feel quite right. It felt a little cheaty for the challenge because while I did thrift this book, I didn't seek it out necessarily, just, oh, that caught my eye based on author. I would have picked this up regardless because it's part of the Dear America series. So that felt a little tricky. I did read this one, and this one is about Catharine, Carey, Logan, fictional character, but it's about kind of during like the French Indian War a little bit, and when the one of the Delaware Indians, they or Native Americans, they got cheated out of some land, and then some of like the Castanoga, I want to say, tribe got basically massacred, and so the Indians were kind of retaliating, and so Catherine or Katie got picked up along with her brother. They got kidnapped and taken to live with the Native American tribe, and I really enjoyed how this one was done because like she had, her father felt that the Native Americans had been done wrong and was kind of outspoken about that. And so she already had compassion for the Native Americans, and then she got kidnapped, and that compassion, she started to think of them as heathens and savages and such, kind of what the society, painted them as now that she had been kidnapped, and then she had to kind of relearn again, like, they're people just like us. And then she, ended up going back to her family, and transitioning back was kind of difficult for her because she had spent so many months with these Native Americans. But I really liked how she had that narrative where she had like this image that society had painted of them, and she had to learn like they're people too, and even though they kidnapped us, like why did they kidnap us, and what's going on there. So I really actually thought this one was done very, very well. um, and I really enjoyed how it was presented, and she's a Quaker, so you had that aspect as well. And at the end of this one, what I liked is it had some pictures and some little bit of like information and such, um, in the back. So that was pretty fun to learn a little bit more, because obviously this is fictional. They're all fictional, but based on real events. So pretty well done. But like I said, as far as fulfilling the O author for my challenge, I didn't think it really qualified, but I read it anyway, like just grasping at something. But that being said, when I came into film, I was kind of looking at my shelves, and I totally forgot. I don't know how I forgot this one. I did thrift this one. And I wanted to read it this month anyway. So that's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So I'm going to be reading this one instead. This is going to go on into the place of my O author because it's thrifted. It's not part of like the Throwbacks Thursday series. I came across it and picked it up. I didn't pick it up because it was an O author. It's just, I picked it up because I had heard about it. And when I found out the thrift store, I picked it up. But it definitely works for this, for sure. So I'm going to put this in place of my O author. And I thought about waiting and doing this video after I read this, but I really want to do a video just on this book, potentially do like discussion questions on this book and such. So that's kind of the plan for this one. So there will be a separate video coming out once I read this for sure. So that is what's going to go in place of Orwell. We're gonna go with Owens, but yeah, definitely don't want to fail the challenge. So I'm glad I had this thrifted option to put in place. And I actually went to, we had to get the dog's new stuffed animals because they destroyed all their other ones. And so we went to the little thrift store, and so I ended up getting more books, and I did see this one on the shelf again. Like it's definitely popping up pretty regularly. And so yeah, I'm like it would have worked. I could have gone to the thrift store and probably found this anyway. So I'm taking it. I'm using that as a win, so I don't fail a challenge because I still got a lot more books to read. But that is it for today's video. Let me know, have you read 1984? Like, what did you think? Like I said, I didn't get very far into it, only about 50 pages, but I just knew it wasn't going to be one that was for me. And so yeah, let me know if you've read this and your thoughts. Like, does it get better? Should I have pushed a little farther? Because I just don't think it's my cup of tea anyway. So yeah. Let me know your thoughts on this if you've read it or if you plan on reading it. and let me know, if you like psychological thrillers, if you think this is one you might try to pick up and read if you come across it. But yeah, definitely enjoyed this one, even though it wasn't like super amazing or anything like that. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.